Greatest Champion has returned by popular demand, and it takes us into the second half of the round of 6 to determine who in fact is the greatest champion. So we start off at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where in race 1 of 2, Cale Yarborough 1977 claims victory over Bobby Labonte 2000. Darrell Waltrip gets 3rd, and Bill Elliott gets 4th place. In last is 1969 David Pearson, and then there's 2 Lee Petty championships back there as well. For race number 2, Dale Jarrett 1999 wins over Kyle Larson 2021. Jeff Gordon 1998 claims 3rd, and in last is another Lee Petty championship being the 1959 version. David Pearson 66 is back there, and Ned Jarrett's 1965 is 3rd to last. With 11 races to go to determine who moves on from the 44 that we have currently to the 36 that go in the round 7, the cutoff line seems tighter than ever, with Richard Petty's 1979 being only 6 points above Red Byron's 1949. Martin Truex Jr.'s 2017 finds itself below the cut line, along with Brad Keselowski's 2012, and Lee Petty's 1959 has now sunk below it along with his 58 title. For race 14, we go to Martinsville Speedway. For race number 1, Dale Earnhardt 1987 wins over Herb Thomas's 1953. Elliott's 88 gets another top 5 finish, and in last is yet again another Lee Petty finish. Terry Labonte's 1984 is 2nd to last, and Darrell Waltrip's 1985 is 3rd to last. For race number 2, Martin Truex Jr. 2017 wins, a huge victory for a championship that is below the cut line. Kyle Larson's 2021 is 2nd, and Richard Petty's 1972 is 3rd. Last is Dale Earnhardt's 1994, and Kyle Busch's 2015. Jimmie Johnson's 06 is also down here, and with now 10 races left before the end of the round, Red Byron's 1949 sits in by just 3 over Richard Petty's 1979. Terry Labonte's 1984 now sits below it, along with Brad Keselowski's 2012 still, and Kyle Busch's 2019. Martin Truex Jr. 2017 from the victory moves all the way up to 29th, putting himself in relatively stable ground as we head into the final 10 races. Race 15 takes us to Texas Motor Speedway, where in race 1, Bobby Allison 1983 won the race, with Dale Earnhardt's 1987 behind him. Bobby Labonte's 2000 sits 3rd, and in last place is Darrell Waltrip's 1985, along with Red Byron 1949 and 2 Richard Petty titles in the 67 and 79 iterations. For race number 2, Kyle Larson 2021 wins over Dale Earnhardt's 1994. Jeff Gordon's 98 sits 3rd, and Darrell Waltrip's 1981 is 4th. In last is Dale Earnhardt 1980, and then Joe Weatherly's 1962. Really the only thing we've heard from that title so far this round, along with Tim Flock's 1952 being 3rd to last. With 9 races to go, the cutoff line is, as usual, tight. Darrell Waltrip's 1985 sits only 2 points ahead of Kyle Busch's 2019. They're sitting only 7 points behind Richard Petty's 1967 that's now in, and then another 6 points behind David Pearson's 1969. Behind that, Brad Keselowski sits about 13 points out, and Richard Petty sits about 14 points out. Race 16 takes us to our first double points race of this round. For the first race of Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Richard Petty's 1971 wins over Cale Yarborough's 1978. Last is Richard Petty's 1975, and Lee Petty's 1958. For race number 2, Dale Jarrett's 1999 claims victory over Kyle Larson's 2021. Tim Flock's 1952 finishes 3rd, and in last is the 66 and 65 championships of David Pearson and Ned Jarrett. Jimmie Johnson's 09 also finishes back here, along with Jeff Gordon's 1998. With the final third of the round coming up, Richard Petty's 1975 battles with a 67 version by just 4 points separating the two. Kyle Busch 2019 moves above the cut line, and overall Richard Petty has a trifecta of himself fighting for the transfer. Ned Jarrett's last championship also sits back here, along with Brad Keselowski's 2012. And Jimmie Johnson's 09 is last place currently as we head into the 17th race. Race 17 takes us to Watkins Glen International, where Bobby Labonte 2000 claims victory over Cale Yarborough's 1977. Brad Keselowski 2012 has an impressive performance in this race, and then last is Terry Labonte's 1984. Richard Petty's 1971 finishes 2nd to last, and Richard Petty's 1967 finishes 3rd to last. In race number 2, Dale Jarrett's 1999 wins over Jeff Gordon's 1998. Cale Yarborough's 76 gets 3rd, and Dale Earnhardt's 1980 gets 4th. Last is Buck Baker's 1957. Then Dale Earnhardt's 1994. Lee Petty's 59 finishes back here as well. With 7 races to go, 1 point separates Buck Baker's 1957 and Kyle Busch's 2019. Tim Flock also sits 7 points out of this 52 title. And 2 Petty's of 79 and 67 sit very close as well. And last is still Jimmie Johnson's 09 championship. Our next race takes us to Michigan International Speedway, where in race 1, Cale Yarborough's 1977 wins over Richard Petty's 1971. Bobby Allison gets 3rd and Dale Earnhardt 4th. And last is Cale Yarborough's 1978, a very surprising run from that title, as all of Cale's championships have been incredibly strong so far. For race number 2, Kyle Busch's 2019 wins, picking up what I think is his first win of this round. Dale Jarrett's 1999 gets 2nd, and Kyle Larson's 2021 gets 3rd. Last is Buck Baker's 1957. Jimmie Johnson's 09 finishes 2nd to last, and Cale Yarborough's 1976 gets 3rd to last. With 6 races left in the round and the final quarter coming up, we look at the cut line, and we see Terry Labonte's 1984 only 3 points above Tim Flock's 1952. Richard Petty's 1979 sits about 6 points behind the cut, and Lee Petty's 1958 sits about 17 points. Race 19 takes us to Richmond International Raceway, where Dale Earnhardt's 1987 claims victory over Richard Petty's 1971. Lee Petty's 1954 gets 3rd, and last is 3 consecutive Richard Petty titles, 67, 79, and 75. For race number 2, Cale Yarborough 1976 shoots back with a win, and that's Richard Petty's 72 and Dale Earnhardt's 1994. Joe Logano's 2022 is also up here. And then last is a bunch of Hendrick championships. Jimmie Johnson's 08, Kyle Larson's 2021, Jimmie Johnson's 09, Terry Labonte's 96, and then Jimmie Johnson's 06. And as we look at the standings with 5 races left, Lee Petty's 1958 sits 6 points behind Buck Baker's 1957, still on the bubble. Brad Keselowski's 2012 is in, Truex's 2017 is just barely in, and Terry Labonte's 1984 is sitting now pretty well below the cut line. We are now heading into the triple points races, where in race 1 at Daytona International Speedway, the first ever 500 winner, Lee Petty, wins in race 1. Last is another Richard Petty championship. Then Terry Labonte, Tim Flock, and 2 Earnhardts. For race number 2, Dale Earnhardt 1994 wins over Jimmie Johnson's 09, a very good run for that title. And then Lee Petty's 1959, another championship below the cut line. And it's Jimmie Johnson's 08. And last is Darrell Waltrip's 1981, right behind Buck Baker's 1957 and Jeff Gordon's 1998, one of the worst runs so far this round for Gordon's 98 season. The cut line sees a couple David Pearsons floating around it, along with Tim Flock's 1952, Truex's 2017 still, and Buck Baker's 1957 being well below it, along with Terry Labonte's 1984. Heading to another triple points race, and the 21st race of the round is Bristol Motor Speedway, where in race number 1, Cale Yarborough's 1978 claims victory over Herb Thomas's 1953. Bobby Allison's 1983 gets 3rd, and in last place this race is Dale Earnhardt's 1993. He finishes behind Richard Petty's 1975, and Cale Yarborough's 1977 finishes back here. A stun for one of the favorites to win it all. For the second race, Richard Petty's 1972 wins over David Pearson's 1966. A very good run for that championship. Kyle Busch's 2015 and Joey Logano's 2022 are all back here as well. And in last place is Joe Weatherly's 1962, Dale Earnhardt's 1980, and 2 Jimmie Johnson titles in 06 and 09. For the standings after this race with 3 races to go, I don't have them, because I copied over them with the next race. So we'll just move on to Darlington. For yet another triple points race, Cale Yarborough 1977 bounces back and wins, with Richard Petty 1971 in 2nd and Bobby Labonte's 2000 in 3rd. In last place is David Pearson's 1969, then 2 Petty championships, Brad Keselowski's 2012, Lee Petty's 1958, and Red Byron's 1949. For race number 2, Jeff Gordon 1998 wins over Buck Baker's 1957. Joe Logano's 2022 gets 3rd, Richard Petty's 1972 gets 4th, and in last place is David Pearson's 1966, Lee Petty's 1959, and Martin Truex Jr.'s 2017 sits back here as well on the risk of being eliminated now. With just 2 races to go, a quadruple points race and a 6-time points race, it is tighter than ever around the cut line. More than 10 drivers sit within 50 points of being eliminated. even if you're on the upper echelon of the standings, like Dale Earnhardt's 1993 or 1980, you still have a very high chance of being taken out here. Meanwhile, it can go the other way, as Richard Petty's 1975, being the furthest one back, has a good shot still trying to make it back in, while Jimmie Johnson's 09 has floated back up from being last place in standings. Heading into the second to last race, we go to Pocono Raceway for a quadruple points race. Kelly Yarborough's 1977 wins over Richard Petty's 1971. Bobby Labonte's 2000 gets third, and Terry Labonte's 1984 gets fourth. A really good run for that championship to try and get him back in the cut line. Last place is Herb Thompson's 1953 and Red Byron's 1949, not helping their case to make it in at all. As for race 2, Buck Baker's 1957 wins over Richard Petty's 1972. Kyle Busch's 2019 and Jimmie Johnson's 08 finished third and fourth. And then last is David Pearson's 1966, along with Tim Flock's 52, Joe Logano's 2022, and Lee Petty's 1959. Going into the last race, the cut line is intense. Less than 5 points separate multiple drivers trying to make it in, as it's a 6-time points race coming up here. Anybody in this 20 I'm showing you right now could face elimination. So without further ado, let's get to the final race at Dover International Speedway. In the first race, Cale Yarborough 1977 wins, as routine for most races this round. Richard Petty's 1971 gets second, Herb Thompson's 1953 gets third, and in last place, in a stunning finish, is Bobby Labonte's 2000. A horrible run for that championship, as it's been relatively consistent throughout the entire round. Richard Petty's 1975 gets second to last, and Cale Yarborough's 1978 gets third to last. In the second race, Richard Petty's 1972 wins over Darrell Waltrip's 1981. Lee Petty's 1959 finishes last, along with Joey Logano's 2022 and Kyle Busch's 2019. With all the shuffling and jumbling in this last race, it's time to look at who officially moves on to the 7th round of the Greatest Champion. Our first elimination and the last place points finisher in this round will be someone that's not a surprise to many. Richard Petty's 1975 is set at the back of the entire second half of this round pretty much. It was nearly 100 points off of who was second to last, and after moving through 6 rounds, it's official that another one of Richard Petty's 7 titles will be eliminated. It joins one of his father's titles being eliminated, Lee Petty's 1959. This was Lee's last championship, as in 1960 he would be injured in a crash and pretty much officially be out of racing after that. It was also the year that marked him winning the first ever Daytona 500, and after these two, it's where the standings start to get really tight. The third elimination will be Jimmie Johnson's 2009 title. It was a rough round, and there was a little bit of a rebound at the end, but Jimmy's 4th consecutive title is officially eliminated from the Greatest Champion. Keeping up with the 9 years, 1949 Red Byron is eliminated, the first ever Cup Champion. Honestly, it was quite impressive this championship made it this far. The 1950 of Bill Rexford was eliminated in the second round. I believe the 1951 championship was eliminated pretty early as well. But Red Byron fought through it and at least got to round 6 before elimination. It finishes right behind the 1984 title of Terry Labonte. Terry Labonte has had 2 titles in this running for a very long time, and honestly, they've both been very quiet. They haven't really done a lot of winning or a lot of upfront running, but they usually ride mid-pack and keep their name out of the big stories. However, Terry Labonte's 84 gets eliminated in this round, leaving Terry with only 1 shot left to become Greatest Champion. Another title that's run strong in previous rounds, but really had a hard one this time, was Tim Flock's 1952. It fought valiantly through this round, but sitting 100 points behind the guy in front of him, it officially eliminates Tim Flock's title from being in contention. Our second to last elimination is one that was fighting to just stay above the cut line, but fell down late. Brad Keselowski's 2012. Brad's lone championship for Roger Penske fought valiantly. It had times where it was well above the cut line, and then it fell below it. If Brad was able to gain at least 30 more points, he would actually be in, as that's how close it is around this part of the championship. And now, for the final elimination. Richard Petty's 1967. 2 of Petty's titles get eliminated in this round, as he falls only 11 points behind David Pearson's 1966. That leaves 36 left, 36 of the greatest seasons in NASCAR history. Thankfully now we don't have to run double races for the entire round now, as we'll just run them all in one, so the rounds will be a little more condensed as we head forward. Round 7, honoring the 7 winners, though, has a lot of races to go through. So other than that, hope you people enjoyed. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you people in the future. Take care.